The best way to think about this when you do it is to think of it as being an outline. So let me share that. So typically what I will do is when I'm getting ready to do one of these sections, I'll create an outline that looks kind of like this. So at this section up here at the very, very top would be your section, because when you all looked at it and you've seen all the sections, like there's the initial contact section that you fill out, and then there's the for phone tests, and then one for availability and things like that. So that's what this would be. So this would be phone test or availability or whatever you wanted to call it. For our purposes, I'm going to call it I'm just going to call it an interplanetary condo testing, because this is a section that we're going to use for testing people who are renting out or selling condos that are on other planets, or at least outside of the Earth. Why? Because it's something that we're never actually going to use, and I can delete this whole section when we're done so it doesn't mess up our test builder. But so this would be, this portion here would be the sections. This would be the section name. Now, it's divided into, each section is divided into several levels of questions. There's a top level question, and then underneath that level of question, there can be several conditional questions. And then underneath that, there can be other additional conditional questions as well. So that's why it's good to think of this as an outline. So this is a top level question. How many condos were discussed? This is a top level question. Did the agent offer to give you a tour? And then level A on here is a conditional question under that first top level question. And then like 1, 2, 3, 4, all these are conditional questions that are underneath then that first sub level. And I know it's a little confusing, but once you get into it, you'll be able to see what's going on with this. Give me just a second here. There it is. Okay, hang on a second here. Okay. So what are you guys seeing on your screen right now? I want to make sure that I'm still sharing the correct one.
The manual, the cover.
Okay, that's not what I wanted. I don't want the manual. I want this one. Is that what you're seeing now?
Now I see your outline.
Okay, that's what I wanted. Okay.
Now I see the manual cover. Now I see the other one.
Okay.
Are you playing with you just around here?
Well, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm that outline that I did in the test builder is kind of what I'm going to go through. I thought everybody would have the manual already, but they don't. So I was going to pull that up, but then I couldn't find it. Okay. So there are some limitations built into this system. And actually, I'm going to share that one with you now. If I can do it here, hang on. I don't use this software for doing presentations very much, so sometimes it's a little. All right, are you seeing the page from the manual now?
No, I'm seeing your outline still.
Oh, okay. It's just the outline.
All right, let me see if I can change that.
Now I see what you want us to see, the test builder continued.
Okay, I figured out how this works now. Good, that's the first step. Okay, so there are some limitations built into the test builder. First of all, there is no way to completely skip a section, right? So if you have a separate, like we do in the initial demo one we give you, or the initial template we give you, we have a section for phone tests, and we have a section for in-person test. There's no way for a tester who's using the system to go through and just not answer any questions in the phone test if they were doing an in-person test, or to just skip the in-person test section if they were just doing a phone test. You have to answer at least one question in each section in order to submit it. So there's a workaround for that I'll talk about in a bit. Conditional questions can only reference the question directly above them in the outline. So again, here's the outline. This question is a conditional question that goes to to this question cannot refer to the answer to this question, and it cannot refer to the answer to this question down here, and this question cannot refer to any question but this one. So you can only go up one level, and you can only have one variable for each of your conditional questions. And I know that might be a little ahead of where we're at, but remember that when we get to the conditional questions, okay? Conditional questions, like I said, can only have a single criteria. So you can't say, ask this question if the answer to this question was a planet and the answer to this one was Sol. It can only reference one criteria, and that criteria is the parent question directly above it in the outline. You can only nest your questions to 3 levels. So you'll notice on my outline here, we have 1, 2, 1. I don't know if you can see my cursor. So there's 1 level, there's 2 levels, and then there's 3 levels. We cannot make any questions, any conditional questions that are conditional on the answer to this 3rd level. That's as deep as you can go. So if you go to 3 levels, you can't go any deeper. So those questions cannot be questions that they're always going to be a parent, or never going to be a parent question. They're always going to be a child question. These can be both a parent and a child question, and these can be both a parent and a child question. Okay. You cannot move conditional questions from one level to the other either. So we can't take this question and say, you know what, we actually want to make this the same level as A. We want to take that up and make it B. We can't do that. The only way to do that is to go up here to this level, add another conditional question underneath this question, and then retype the question. There's no way to shift them back and forth. You also would not be able to shift this from here down to here. You can't shift them. You can shift them up and down. You could take number 9 here and you could make it number 8 or number 7 or number 6. You could move it up to here if you want to, or you could move it down to here if you want to, but you can't move it underneath a different parent question. You can't raise it a level, and you can't move it to be a top level question as well. The other big, really big thing to be aware of as far as a limitation goes is that once you save a change to your test template, it is permanent. There is no undo button. There is no saving it and then restoring an earlier version later. Once you make a change, that change is saved. And that's the reason why when I do this demonstration for you, I'm going to do it on our demo version of the test builder, because I don't want to mess with the production version and then potentially mess it up. There are a couple of bugs that were in it when I first started working on it. I am told that they have been resolved. I have not been gutsy enough to test them yet, because like I said, once you make a change, it's permanent. So you should be aware that these are potentially still there. There was an error that was happening that if you delete a question, like say well, first of all, I should tell you, if you delete this question, all of the child questions underneath all of these are going to go away as well, right? So you delete a parent question, you delete all of its children questions as well. There was a bug where if you deleted this question, when it refreshed the display, it would refresh the display incorrectly. And it would show you that, for instance, A, right here was a condo located on a planet or artificial space station. It would show you that this was up here and that, what you were selecting 1 was here. But if you selected 1 and you hit delete, what was actually happening is you were deleting A and all the child questions. And I literally deleted an entire section one time accidentally because of that bug. So that was a bug that happened. And the other bug was very similar. It was if you took a section, like let's say you took, or a question, let's say you took 3 and you moved it up to 1. Sometimes it would do the same thing. It would display incorrectly. And then any changes that you made that you thought were being made to one question were then being made to a different question, and it really messed it up. So the workaround for that is, if you're going to delete a question, delete that question, immediately hit save, close the test builder, and open it back up, and then it will display properly. I'm told again that those bugs were fixed. I have not been gutsy enough to check it, so you should be aware. Okay, so let's talk about the sections, and I'm going to actually first get us into it. So let me show you what the test builder actually looks like for those of you who haven't seen it yet. I am going to share this screen. Okay, so you should all see the test builder screen, or not the test builder screen, but the actual the tester app screen.
That is correct.
Okay, so to get into the test builder is a very complicated process. You have to click on the place where it says test builder. And once you do, it will load. Okay, so as you look down here, you'll see that there's something called section name. So each of those names, those sections are what you get when you, let's say you want to go to, well, if you're going to fill out a report, what you're going to get is, and again, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to do this. It's really hard to quickly swap back and forth between these. What you're going to do, though, is you are going to get something. Yeah, come on. Something that looks like this. That's your screen. If you are an actual tester and you're going in and you're going to start answering the questions, this is what you get. Each of these sections up here is one of the sections that's shown in the test builder. So you've got initial contact, you've got, well, first you got introduction, terms of use, instructions and definitions, initial contact, telephone test, on-site test. So when you see that in the outline, what it actually looks like is this. So this is the introduction, terms of use, instructions and definitions. This is the initial contact, telephone test, on-site test, and so on. So this is our outline. They can collapse. Now, these arrows are used to move a section up and down. So this would move it up. I don't know if you can you see my cursor? I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Yes, we can see your cursor.
Okay, so this would move the section up and down. What this button does over here is it rolls up your section so that you don't have to see all the questions, or you can click it and it will make all the questions expand, which is super useful if what you're trying to do is you're trying to get all the way down here to the end and you don't want to go through all those questions that are listed in the app. So you can collapse all those in, it'll go faster. Or if you're trying to go to the very end, you can just use a shortcut, keyboard shortcut, and just hit the end button and it'll take you down there too. Now I got to hit home to go back up to the top. The button right here, very important button. That's the delete button. If you delete that, it will delete your entire section. Don't do that unless you really want to get rid of the section. And then when you initially pull up the screen, all of your questions that are underneath are going to be collapsed. But again, you can click that and it will take them down and you can see how they work. Most of these kinds of questions are kind of self-explanatory. The easiest one is instructions. It consists of just the initial contact, or the question text, in which case we have initial contact. The question type on this is going to be instruction. And then down here, you just type whatever it is that you want to tell your tester. There has to be something in each of these fields. So if you want to leave it blank, you can just put a space and then go to the next one, like just like that, and go to the next one. And now it'll come up and it won't have the words that were there. So this entire section that we have at the beginning, the initial I accidentally moved something. See, this is why I was saying you had to be careful with that. Introduction, there we are. Okay. So this introduction section is these are all just instruction type questions. So we don't have to really do anything with those other than, like I said, you just put in the heading that you want for your question, and then you put in the instructions. And the only reason it's spaced out instead of all just being in one is that it will not, this is another limitation, it will not put any, like if I put another sentence here and I say, or call me, and I've got this space down here, see how it looks like it's really nice and there's a blank space between those lines? When the user sees it, it's going to look like this. It's going to take out all those carriage returns. It's going to take out all that spacing. So the only way to insert spacing is to put an empty line in between by putting the header for the instruction as just an empty space, and then you can put your text down here. Same thing on this question. We actually put double spaces because we wanted to put another space between these kind of sections. So so that's the instruction type of questions. They're very, very straightforward. The user does not have to do anything on them. They don't have to answer any questions. Okay. And then if we go down to the initial contact, what we've done is we put instructions at the beginning of every single section just so that the end user sees it. So our first actual question is going to come down to here. And it's, what kind of test was this? This is what we call a radio button question, because your end user is only going to be able to select one of these. If you've ever been on a website, which I know all of you have, it's usually the little round dot, and when you click on it, it clicks between one or two. Since we only have two different kinds of tests that we do, telephone tests or on-site tests, these are the only two options that they can select. So up here we put as the question test, or question text. What kind of test was this? We selected as our question type radio button, and then we put our answers in here. So if we want to put another one, we could put, it was a telepathic test. So put in your answer, you just type it in, and then you hit enter. And now they have three options that they can select: telephone, on-site, or telepathic. I don't really want to keep telepathic, so I'm going to click this little X and make that one go away. So this is a top level question. Remember I talked about the outline? This is a top level question. This is a parent question. It is not a child question at all, because it is the top level question. Underneath here is a conditional question, which is a child question of question number 7 here. And we know this because it says what kind of test, show the next question if the following condition matches the previous question being that top level above it, right? So the answer is telephone. So if they select on-site, this question is not going to be shown. If they select telephone, this question will be shown. And again, this is another radio button. They are only able to select 1, 2, or 3. They can't select anything else. And then these questions all appear underneath if they answer telephone. So this is an interesting one. This is the date entry question. Date entries only let you enter a month, a day, and a year. You cannot type any text. You cannot. You can't. I don't know. Select a box. There's no box to select. It does do a nifty little drop down that lets you select from like a little calendar kind of thing. But you're only allowed to enter a date on date entry. There's something similar. It's called a time entry, which I'll show you later. And it works the same way. So, and again, here's a time entry down here. They both work the same way. Now the radio button question, then we have a short answer. A short answer is simply a question that is, the user can type in anything they want, but they are limited on the number of characters that they're allowed to enter. I think that it is limited to, I want to say it's like 256 characters, but I could be wrong on that. But it's a short answer. That's for if you're saying, maybe 1 or 2 sentences is all you're going to put. And by the way, you'll notice that this question is a sub-question of how many attempts were made at contact, which is this one. So this is the 3rd level question. We can't go any deeper than that. And so that's kind of how the questions work. The best way to show you is probably to actually just go ahead and put in a new section. So we've already got our outline for one. We've got the interplanetary condo testing outline. So I'm going to show you this by adding a section. All right, so I'm going to click the Add Section button at the very bottom of the page. And then in the name of the section, I'm going to put interplanetary condo testing. You have to select an icon. I'm not sure why it makes you select an icon, but you have to select an icon. So you click on select an icon. These are the only icons that are available. You can't upload any new ones. You can't change them. I don't know where they got these icons, but these are the ones that you can select from. So I'm just going to select one at random, hit save, and now when it comes back, you'll see that that's the little icon that's going to appear when your tester gets there. So we're going to add our first question. So we expand this box so we can see it. Our first question is just going to be an instruction. So we're going to put instructions. We're going to select that it is an instructions question type. And then we're going to put fill this out. If you have questions, just take an answer. We're pretty easy around here. So what we're going to do now, we want another top level question, is we're going to click on add question. You cannot do a conditional question for an instruction type question because there's nothing for the user to select, right? So those can never have child questions. So we're going to add our first real question here. And our first real question on this one is, when you spoke with the agent, how many condos were discussed? We're going to do something kind of cool here called a repeating group. A repeating group allows you to ask the same series of questions several times without having to repeat it over and over and over again. It's a huge time saver. So what we'll do is we will tell it to make it a repeating group, and then we're going to put a group label. So what's going to happen is we're going to say how many condos were discussed. It's going to ask them for a number. They're going to enter that number. It can be 0. It can be, I think, up to 9. But each series of questions is going to have a little header above it. And this is where we get to pick which one we want. So we're going to say condo number, because after that number sign, it's going to tell you this is repeating group number 1. This is repeating group number 2. So it's going to be condo number 1, condo number 2, right? And then we're going to click on the button down here that says add questions to the group. So our first question that we're going to ask is, because I mean, this is an interplanetary condo, right? So we're going to ask, was the condo located on a planet or an artificial space station? They're only allowed to make one of two choices. And those are going to be limited to planet and space station. And they only get to select one because we made it a radio button. Okay, so now they've told us, okay, it was either a planet or an artificial space station. We're going to have a different series of questions based on that answer. So now we're going to add a conditional question right here by clicking that button. So now the question is, the answer, whether or not it appears, is going to depend on the answer to the question, was the condo located on a planet or artificial space station? So we're going to say we want it so that the answer is that it was on a planet. You have different options here. You can say, as long as it was not on a planet, we're going to ask this series of questions. If it was empty, if they didn't answer this question, if they left it blank, then we're going to add these questions. Or there's is not empty. As long as they put anything in that, we're going to ask this series of questions, okay? But on this particular case, we want, if it was a planet, then what we want to ask is, what was the name of the planet? Makes sense, right? We don't know what the answer to this is going to be. There could be literally billions and billions of answers, but we know that they're not going to be very long answers. So we're going to make this a short answer. And then they can put in whatever the name of the planet is, right? It was Krypton, it was Dogstar, it was Sawyer's planet, whatever it is, they can put it. So now we're going to ask another question, which again goes up to here. It's from that same question that was asked up here. Was it on a planet or artificial space station? And you can tell because it says right here, this is our criteria. And we're going to say if it was on a planet, Was the planet discovered as habitable, or did they terraform it? And again, we're only going to have two possible answers, right? Habitable, terraformed. And then we're going to add another question. We're going to say, how long is a day on the planet? So if it is a planet, how long is a day on the planet? And that is going to be a short answer. It's going to be, 24 Earth hours, 26 Earth hours, whatever. And then we're going to add a different kind of question. What we're going to put is, again, if it's a planet, what features are on this planet? And we're going to make this one a little bit different kind of question. We're going to make this one a checkbox. A checkbox works just like a radio button. They can only select the answers that are given. However, they can select more than one. So we can say this planet might have mountains, it might have oceans, it might have desert, it might have a toxic atmosphere. And they will be able to select as many of those as they want or none of those, as long as we unclick the make question required. If it says make question required and you want to give them the possibility of not answering any of these, then you would have to add none of the above. Or you can just simply say the question's not required, and then they can leave it blank if they want to. Okay? We're going to add another question. We are going to make this one a, well, I could make it a long entry, because a long entry works exactly the same way as a short answer. It's just you can put in much longer answers. It's got, as far as I know, no limit on the number of characters. And I have tested that. I have put
Stephen?
in, yeah.
Stephen, there's a question.
Yes.
Can you see your chat box?
Oh, yes. So every time I share a screen, it automatically minimizes this, so I didn't see it. So if it's still under the parent item of repeating question? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to get to that. I promise I will get to that. So then we've said here's what we're going to do if it's on a planet. So now we're going to add a different question to this group. Because remember, the first question in the group was, is it located on a planet or a space station? And then the answer was if it was on a planet. So now we're going to go down here. We're going to add another conditional question, which is, it was on a space station. And so then we're going to want to ask, I'm going to try to keep this short here. I'm trying to find, where'd my outline go? Oh, I know what's going on. It's covering it up. Okay. So it would do the same thing. So we're just going to say the only question we want to ask for the space station is, if it's a space station, is when was it built, right? And that's it. Okay, so those are our two options under, was it located on a planet or an artificial space station? If they say planet, it's going to ask all of these questions. And then if it is a space station, it's only going to ask just this one question, right? So now we want to add a second question to the group. Well, actually, no, we don't, because, well, we could. Yeah, so we'll add another question to the group. We'll say, what was the asking price for this condo? And we'll just make that a short answer. And then we're going to add another question to the group and say, is this condo suitable for humans only? And then we're going to have a radio button, and we're going to have yes or no. And when we're done, I'm going to show you how all of this is going to look, so you'll be able to see it. But the first time that they come through, it's going to say how many condos were discussed. If they say 3, then it's going to ask these questions 3 times. If they say 4, it's going to ask these questions 4 times. So that way you don't have to say, if the answer was 1, go through all these questions. If the answer was 2, go through all these questions. If the answer was 3, it saves you a ton of time because it just says, we're going to ask this series of questions over and over again. Okay. Is there another question there? Okay, so that answered your question. Okay, so we'll show it here in a minute. And then we're going to add another top level question. And that top level question is going to be, again, we have to expand it. Did the agent give you a tour? And then again, we're only going to have yes or no as an option. And so then we're going to add a conditional question under that. So if the answer to that question, to did they offer to give you a tour, if that answer is yes, then we're going to ask, was it in VR or was it in person? And again, we're only going to have, well, actually, we're going to do a checkbox because they could have offered both, right? So VR, in person. And this is handy because now I'm going to add another conditional question. And I'm going to show you how the checkboxes are different than the radio buttons. So if the answer includes VR, right? So they click just VR or they clicked VR and in person. It's going to say, how many people were allowed to participate. And we'll make that a short answer. And then we're going to add another one that says if it includes in person, how did they transport you there? And we're going to make that a long answer because that may be a very long story, right? We're going to add another conditional question. And this one is going to be only if they said in person. And that question is going to be, did you encounter any other alien life forms while you were on this tour? And we're going to have 2 options, yes or no. And then we can also make a conditional question that excludes VR. So if they did not answer VR, if they answered anything other than VR, or they just left it blank, it's going to show this question. What did the atmosphere smell like? And we'll make that a short question. Now,
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I think you forgot to do a drop down on, was it in person? Do you need to select
yes,
is?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I think I did it,
Sorry
but then
for
I
the-
clicked on it instead of clicking on it.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, you're fine. Thank you. So this one should have been if the answer is in person. Yep. So I think what happened was I clicked on it and then I clicked over here when I was trying to do it. And then we can have if is empty and is not empty like the other ones. So you can make the questions appear or not appear based on pretty much any kind of criteria that you want to. You just sometimes have to be creative with it. I will note, by the way, when you look at it and you say, what question type is this? Note that what's missing is you cannot say repeating question, because the sub questions under a repeating question count as another level, another nesting level. And remember, you can only go down 3. And we're already on our 3rd level. So you can't go anything further than that. You couldn't have, if the answer was, if the atmosphere smelled like warm root beer, you couldn't have then conditional questions based on that answer because you're already 3 levels down. Okay, so this should be enough to give you a basic idea of what this is going to look like. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit finish and save. Oh, there are errors in my form. Okay, so we got to go up and find them. And it will not tell you where they are. You have to go searching through for them manually. And I'm hoping it's just one of the new things I did, because it should put a little flag on it that says this one has a problem, but it won't like automatically take you to those flags. There it is. Okay, see right here. I apparently clicked on a question to start one, and then I never finished it. So that's great. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click the little button to delete it. It asks if I want to, and boom, now it's gone. Well, I'm going to guess that those bugs are not gone because I just deleted an empty question, and now it changed one of my other answers. So if the answer is a space station, when was it built? That was, I don't know why it did that. That's a little weird buggy thing. All right, now we're going to try and finish and save and see if it lets us. It did. Okay, so now you got to bear with me here because I've got to log in as a user so I can actually show you what this is going to look like to the tester. And I had this open earlier, and then for some reason it closed on me. Okay. And I have to log in as a different user. That's why I can't do it on that same browser window. Okay, so let's try that one. So let me log in. Okay, so now I'm going to change the screen that I'm sharing here. And we're going to log in as a user.
Just a quick question. Would it be, is there any disadvantage to saving every couple questions just so that we don't run into that issue?
The only downside really is that when you save, it completely exits you out of the test builder, and then you have to go back into it again, which can be a little time consuming, depending on how fast your internet connection is, how fast their servers are that day, how many questions are in the test, and that sort of thing. So that's the only downside. I do recommend that you do it periodically, though, for the very reason that you said. I don't want to, I don't want to get to the end and then some kind of glitch happens and now it hasn't saved anything that I've done for the last 4 hours. And anytime that you delete something, you should try to save as well, because that will help. That'll help, overcome that error that's potentially cropping up where it displays incorrectly and you think that you've deleted one question, or you think you're modifying a question, you're really modifying a different one because it displayed differently than what it should have. So yeah, I do recommend that you save periodically. I guess that answers the question, hopefully.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So you guys should be seeing right now, you should be seeing the tester screen, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So I'm going to show you what this looks like now. So I'm going to go on as a tester, and I'm going to click up here in the top right where it says new report. And I'm just going to give it a random test number. I'm going to make the test coordinator, I don't know. Fozzie's kind of my go-to person right now, I guess. And we're going to say this was ABC Apartments. Test date is today, and let's begin. So when it comes up, you will see that there's all these sections showing up. And then here's a new one that we just did, the interplanetary condo testing. So just to show you, remember I said the first section is all just instructions. There are no actual questions. So this is what that looks like. Pretty basic, right? And then you just hit complete section, and now that one is done. See how up at the top on each one of them, as soon as I mouse over it, it's going to block it, so you can't see it, but it says like not started or it has a check mark. Unless all of these have a check mark, when you go down and you hit submit report, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be grayed out because you have to complete all of them before you can submit the report. So let's look at what I just put together, which is the interplanetary condo testing. All right. So there's the instructions. Fill this out. If you have questions, just fake an answer. Remember I put that on there? So how many condos were discussed? Well, if we put 0, nothing else is going to change, right? But if we put 2, condo number 1, was it located on a planet or an artificial space station? We're going to say this one was on a planet. Okay, what was the name of the planet? It was Krypton. Was it discovered as habitable or was it terraformed? We're going to say it was habitable. How long is a day on the planet? 26 Earth hours. What features are on this planet? We can select as many of them as we want to, because remember that's a checkbox. They don't look like radio buttons, but these are radio buttons because you can only select one. What was the asking price for this condo? The low price of whatever number that is. Is it suitable for humans only? Why, yes. Okay, so that's our first series of questions for condo number 1. Now we go to condo number 2. Was it on a planet or a space station? Well, this one was on a space station. So it's not going to ask any of these questions because these questions are relative to a planet. The only one we have for a space station is when was it built? 2065. Okay. What is the asking price? This one was whatever the number that is. Is it suitable for humans only? Yes, because remember these were the conditional questions based on if they selected a space station or a planet. So if we go back to planet, those questions are going to go away, except for the ones that were suitable to both. So this question and this question were asked on both planets and space stations. But this question was only asked for space station, and all the planet questions went away when we change it. Did the agent give you a tour? If we say no, nothing's going to happen because we didn't have any follow-up questions if we weren't offered a tour. If we were offered a tour, we say yes. Was it in VR? Is it in person? Again, this is a checkbox, right? So we can say it was in VR. How many people were allowed to participate? 12, right? Oh, you know what? They also allowed us to do it in person. How did they transport us there? Shuttle or shuttle key. Did you encounter any other life forms? Yes. Now, if we uncheck VR, the question that was specific to just VR goes away. If we uncheck in person, all those questions go away because we didn't have any that said, if it is empty. So they can select both, and then we have follow-up questions for any of them depending on that. So then we could save this as a draft. What this means is next time I log in, it's going to have this little checkbox over it. But I can't submit it yet because I haven't done the rest of the sections. And I know that was really quick and that was really dirty. But yes, I see Oakley has a question.
Yeah, so I noticed that when you uncheck the box, it's and then recheck it, it saves that in memory temporarily.
Yeah.
Now, let's say you uncheck those boxes completely, like you did. When you hit save later, and we go to the reports after everything's submitted, is that going to show up in the report at all?
I do not know the answer
because
to the question. That's a good question. I don't know. I think it probably does because it saves it here, right? So the data is still there. So my guess would be that when you save it as a draft, yes, that is still going to be saved in the actual database dump that's going to throw down at you. So it probably does save those answers. That's a guess on my part, but I'm like 75% sure that that's the actual correct answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I know that was really quick, and that was really kind of flying through that and kind of just hitting the surface of all that stuff. But you guys have any questions about it, or is there anything that needs to be clarified? Because again, I know I didn't go in depth on a lot of stuff because I just kind of wanted to show you the basics at this point. Okay, so let me give you a couple of workarounds, a couple of little tips that I've come up with kind of relative to designing these tests and how to get by some of those limitations where, you may want to ask a question and then have a whole bunch underneath it, but then you can only go 3 levels, so the test builder won't let you do more. So one of the things that I always do is, like I said, I do the outline, because that way I can see how many levels my questions are going. Because if you try to just do it on the fly, you're going to find out that, oh yeah, I need to answer this question. I need to answer or ask all these follow-up questions if they say this, but then you got to tear your whole test apart and start over. And I had that happen. I got the entire thing done, like literally the entire thing done. And then somebody said, oh, well, you need to add this question. And that question completely blew the whole thing up. In our particular case, I think it was that we were doing, so we had the phone test and the in-person test all in the same section. And the first question that we had was it a phone test or was it an in-person test? But then there goes one of our levels right away, right? So then we can only go 2 more levels, but then we had questions later on that needed to go down a 3rd level and we couldn't do it. And there were so many of them that it justified just blowing the whole thing up and starting over, doing one section for phone test and one section for in-person test. And so we had to go around that. And then the other thing that we had to do is when we had them as separate sections, we still had to ask a question at the beginning that made it a top level question. And so we still lost 1 level, but we didn't lose as many levels, if that makes any sense. So always do an outline first. Make sure you know what your questions are going to be and what the conditions for them are going to be before you start to do it. I said I was going to show you what the date and time things look like. So let me see if I can pull one of those up here too. Hang on a second. Let me pull up. Because those are pretty cool. If you guys haven't seen them, they actually work really, really well. So let me go to that one. Okay, so we're going to go back out of here, and I'm going to go into one of the other sections. Telephone test is going to have this. So there's the instructions. Okay, so the very first question that we have is, did you successfully complete a telephone test? If you say yes, it's going to start asking all the questions related to telephone tests. If you say no, which might be a case where you tried to do the telephone test, you called 3 times, you never got a call back, that's all it wants to know, you can complete the section. Or if it was an in-person test, say, well, no, I didn't complete a telephone test because this was an in-person, it was not a telephone test. So then you can complete the section. But we want to say it was a telephone test, so we'll select yes. Now this very first one is a date. It's a date field, month, day, year is all you can enter. Now you can put them in like that if you want to, manually, or you can hit the little icon over here and it'll drop down and it will let you select. You can go to the year, you can go to the month, you can go to the month, you can select the day. Same thing with time. You can put them in here if you want to. You can put, I went at, 3:24 a.m., or you can just select the little box down here and it will let you select your hour and your day, and then whether it's AM or PM. So that's kind of a cool little question type that's available in there. And then this is, again, a repeating question. How many agents did you speak with on this test? I spoke with 5. So it's going to ask me the information for each separate agent. It's going to ask that series of questions, that repeating series of questions 5 times, because I said there were 5 agents. If I take it down, I say I only spoke with 1. And 5, by the way, is the maximum. I thought it was 9. It's 5, it looks like. I think. Let me look. Yeah, 5 is the maximum. You cannot change the minimum. You cannot change the maximum on that, by the way. So if I just put 1, then it's only going to ask that question, those series of questions once. If I hit 2, there's the information for agent 1. There's the information for agent 2. It's going to be the same questions. And again, these don't have any drop downs because this is the 3rd level. The first level was it a phone test? Second one was, how many agents did you speak with? The 3rd is going to be all these repeating questions. And that's as far down as we can go. So we'll say we spoke with 0 agents. We talked about a duplex, we talked about a studio, and now this is another checkbox, right? So did not specify. Okay, well, then we're not going to ask because our follow-up question is, how did they respond when you said how many bedrooms you wanted? But if you didn't say how many bedrooms you wanted, we're not going to ask that question. On the checkboxes and radio buttons, I almost always put other, because a lot of times we'll get a tester's like, well, it was a weird situation. It wasn't really a yes, it wasn't really a no, it was somewhere in between. And we want to give them the option of being able to explain that. So on the radio buttons and the checkboxes, I almost always put other. Then I give them the option to explain what the difference, what that was. And then here's another one. Did you specify any other features, such as first floor only? Okay, what did you say? What do you want to do? Right? So we'll save that as a draft. We can't complete the question because there are little asterisk means that that box was checked that says this is a required question and we didn't answer it. And now it's not required, but we have a bunch of other ones over here that are required that we didn't answer, so it's not going to let us do it. So we can put blah, 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 blah. Now no, there's another one that's required. Where's the other one that's required? Oh, one of these. There we go. We told them 1 bedroom. How do they respond? It should be letting me submit it, and I'm not sure why. It's not. Oh, what time did it end? There it is. That one had the little asterisk on it. So we're going to say it ended at 2:03 a.m. It was a really long phone test. And now it'll let us complete the section. Now when we go back, it's going to have a little check mark on it. Interplanetary condo testing. Remember, we didn't answer all the questions. We just said save as a draft. So now it says in progress over it. But we still can't submit the report because not all of these have little check marks. Okay. That is, that's kind of all the basics, and kind of shows you what they look like when the end user uses it. Is that helpful to anybody? Is it not helpful? Do you have other questions? Yes, Oakley.
Yeah. When it's a practice test for, let's say, a brand new tester that's coming in, do you guys use the system or do you do it separate from this?
That is a great question to ask Ryan or Alex, because they're the test coordinators. You want to take that one, Alex?
Yes. So we are having our testers use this new app because that's what they're going to be using for their tests. We're trying to keep everything consistent. So we have testers sometimes go off a mock report or sometimes make up fictitious information just to get used to the app. And that could be toggling between on-site and phone call. When new testers join, they'll run through, they'll try everything in the app. And then even with testers who have used previous versions of the app or have done some of the electronic reporting, we're still having them use the new and updated version too before they move on to new reports.
So how do you indicate that it's going to be a practice test on, or have them indicate that it's going to be a practice test on your end?
We have one site among all of the sites listed, which is clearly not real. At least I hope not. It's our Mickey Mouse Apartments is the site that we know is fictitious, and we know any Mickey Mouse Apartments sites are going to be just for practice, whereas the rest of the sites in the app are real sites, and we wouldn't want to have anything uploaded for those.
Okay.
There is also a manual that we are working on that is going to have very detailed instructions. I kind of use that as my guide for this. But it explains things, I think, in a little bit better detail than I did. One thing I did not talk about is the file upload kind of special question. I can maybe show you that real quick here. I can show you both what it looks like on your end as the person that's designing the test, and I can show you what it looks like as the end user. So let me see if I can find. All right, I'm going to show you. So I'm going to show you what it looks like on your end first as the person who's doing the test build. So let's say that, you know, your tester got an email back and they saved it as a PDF, or they were given a brochure and they scanned it in, or they recorded the phone call and you've got an audio file. So what you can do is you can tell it that you want it to upload those files. So we have that in our very last section, which is called narrative. So I'm going to go into narrative real quick here. Do you have any files to upload? So the question type that we have for that, if they say yes, then there's a conditional question, right? If the answer was yes to, do you have any files to upload? Then our question text is going to be select the files to upload, and then we just select file upload. That's all you have to do on your end as the test builder. All you got to do is just say the question type is file upload. And then what's going to happen on the user end? There's not a way to switch over from one screen to the other without stopping sharing first on this, I don't think. But on the user end, what it's going to look like. Come on. I'm going to put that down in narrative. So do we have any files to upload? Yes. And then we can upload a file right here. It will, as soon as you hit yes, it'll tell them you can select up to 10 files to upload. Maximum file size is 25 megs. It includes most documents, images, videos, and audio files. So I'm going to select a file to upload. I don't know what I'm going to upload here. I'm just going to put, I don't know, I had the Michigan Sentencing Guidelines open recently, so I'm going to make that one. I don't know why, but there it is. Okay, so now our end user has told us, okay, I'm going to upload this file. But then they might change their mind and say, you know what, that was the wrong file, sorry. I'm going to replace that, and I'm going to upload this sample document instead. Okay, so I'm going to upload that one, but then I also want to upload additionally a different file. So you click on this little blue cross over here, blue plus sign, and you can upload a second file. And we're going to make it a model exhibit and witness list, just because it was there. And we can keep on doing that over and over and over again until we get to our limit of 10 files. But if we say, oh, you know what, I actually don't want to include this one, just hit delete, and it goes away. So that's how that looks on that end. I forgot that was one question type I didn't cover. And so I wanted to make sure that you guys did see that one as well. I think, by the way, that is kind of one of the coolest parts of this whole thing, is that it is, it's so simple to do the file upload. You just put in, upload your file, and then you hit file upload as the type, and it does all the work for you.
How does that look on the phone if someone is trying to upload files from their browser on their phone?
Oh, I don't know, because I've never done it. I would imagine it looks pretty similar. I mean, it's just HTML, so it probably looks pretty much the same. It will use, when you go to upload file, it will just use whatever your operating system's file selection dialog is. So if you're on Windows, it'll use the Windows dialog. If you're on a Mac, it'll use the Mac OS dialog. If you're on an Android phone, it'll use the built-in file dialog for Android, and same thing with an iPhone, it'll use the built-in one. So if you need or want to make changes in the future, you need to start from scratch. Can you clarify what that question means?
Like, say, like a year or two from now, you want to add a question, or like things change and that no longer applies, you'd have to start all the way from the beginning, correct?
No, not necessarily. So let me see if I can find. Let me bring back up the test builder here, and I'll show you. Hopefully that's the right one. Nope, that is not the right one. That's the right one. Okay. So I'm going to bring this back up. So we don't really, so let's say we go back in a year and we say, oh, we want to, we need to add a question about, you know, was the agent being kind of racist towards, people from different planets. So then we can just go up here and we just hit the add question at the end of the section. See how this is all, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can maybe see it a little. So under this section name, see how there's this kind of little box around it? All the questions that are in this box are in this section. So down at the bottom, you just hit add question. And then you can add the question. If we want to say, did the agent make disparaging remarks about Romulans? We can say yes, no. And then we say, you know what? We actually want to make that question appear earlier. You can click on this little arrow right here. Hopefully you can see it. I'm going to zoom in again. So this arrow right here, and now that will be question 3 instead of question 4. Click it again and it's question 2. We go down, same thing. Now it's question 3. So you can move them up and down. And then if we want to get rid of this question 5 that we're just like, we don't need to ask that question anymore. We can just go over here to the little trash can icon and it goes away. Maybe. There we go. And hopefully it deleted the right one. So what I would do at this time if I was doing a real one, and I'm actually going to do, I'd hit finish and save because again, I've deleted something and the display may be wrong because sometimes it's a little buggy. But now if we go down, you'll see that there's only 4 questions instead of 5. And the question about Romulans is question number 3. It's not at the very end. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, so what is permanent when you click finish and save that you said at the beginning can't be changed?
I'm sorry, one more time on that. You were breaking up on my end.
Oh, at the beginning you said once you click finish and save, something can't be changed.
Right.
Like it's
so
permanent.
let's say you go through, let's say I went through and when I said, did the agent give you a tour? I accidentally deleted the yes as an option, right? So if I delete this option of yes, remember there's questions down here now that depend on, did the agent give you a tour? So if I delete that as an option, and they said yes, so if I delete that as an option, when I save this, all of this is going to go away now because the question was, did the agent offer to give you a tour? If they said yes, then these questions are asked. But, oh, wait, that's different. They changed that. That was a bad example because they changed something that I did not know. That's interesting. Hang on a second. Okay, so that's interesting. So if I delete yes, it changed it down here. I don't know if you saw that it changed it or not when I did that. But let's say, okay, so so I took away the long and short is I took away one of the options here, right? And let's say I didn't want to do that. I accidentally deleted that option and then I hit finish and save. What's going to happen is when I go back into the test builder, that option that I just deleted is going to be deleted. And I can't get it back. I can't undo it. I can't restore it from a prior. I can't do anything else. This is new, by the way. It used to be if you selected an option, like remember here, did the agent offer to give you a tour? The condition, the answer has to be yes. And that's not an option anymore. It used to be if you deleted that option that it depended on, all of those would go away. And that's new. I've never seen it do this behavior before. So that must be something they did in an update that I did not know about. I don't know if this is going to work now, though. If I type in yes again, I don't know if that's going to work when our end user goes to do it. That's interesting. So if I delete yes. Oh, yeah. So it will only give me that option now, unless I add yes back in again. For some reason, it saved it. That was weird. What it actually did was when I deleted that answer, see if I'll do it again. What it did before was it actually added over here at the beginning, if yes. I did not put that. That was something it added on its own, and I've never seen that behavior before. So that must be something new that is confusing me and it's probably going to confuse you now. But the whole point of that was, if you accidentally delete something, like, you know, I'm just going to delete question 4 and I save it, question 4 is gone forever. I can never get it back. And that is how I accidentally, see, there's no question 4 anymore. That is how I accidentally deleted an entire section at one point without meaning to. So, so be aware when you hit finish and save, you can't undo to what it was before you started working on it. There is no, you can't save your test template and then restore it later if you make a mistake. Once you commit the changes are committed.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right.
A couple.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, there's a couple things I wanted to say is that I think it's real important to remember that always practice in your demo. Get to know how to do this in your demo app, not in your real app that you're going to get very soon. And so you can get all the bugs out and some of those mistakes that you may make, they'll just be in the demo. The other thing is that in watching Stephen's demonstration today and watching the technicality of this, some people are going to say, oh man, this is awesome. Let me add it. That would be Stephen. Probably Ryan and Alex as well. But for others, you might think, well, I don't think that I'm really going to be good at this, or I'm not the best person in our agency for that. That's okay too.
Oh,
Just this is being recorded, and so the opportunity to have someone else in your agency actually try this out. Have them watch Stephen's video and then have them try it. But don't feel that you have to do it, and don't not use the app because you're afraid of this piece of it.
Yep. And like I said earlier, we do have a manual that we're working on, and it's just going through some minor fixes right now. But the manual explains the stuff in a lot more detail, and it goes through kind of step by step. Once you have the initial concept down and you figured out how to do it, it's actually not that difficult. It's just a little tedious, but things, you know, if you know some of the tricks like using the repeating questions, it makes it a little less tedious. And hopefully the template, the original template that we're putting with it, covers 90% or more of what it is that you actually need to use with your testers. Some of you may be able to find you can just use the app, the template that we've got, just right out of the box, and it meets all of your needs. Or you may find that you just need to make some little teeny tiny little minor tweaks. But hopefully it's comprehensive enough to meet most of the needs that you have.
Are there any other questions or comments or concerns that you might want to ask or run by staff? Okay. I'd like to thank you immensely, Stephen, for doing the presentation, because this is not my strength. And so I was tickled when you had such enthusiasm to take over this piece of it. The manual itself is should be done within a week. It's just a matter of tweaking a couple things that I requested that they take off. Options like deleting certain things in the app, get a few things off. So it's just basically updating a couple things like that, reviewing it one more time, and then we will be sending it to you. Also, for those of you that have asked me, I was hoping to get you the new app either yesterday or today. Well, I found a glitch in it that I don't want to send it to you yet because you're going to get very frustrated with it. And so I contacted the company and they are working on it, and I'm hopeful that they're going to get it done today or tomorrow. So by the end of the week, you should be able to start using your new app. Invite yours, you should be able to have your testers start using it. Alex and Ryan are using it currently with the Mickey Mouse test, Mickey Mouse apartment test, and they're going to be using it for assignments as well as soon as they get this last glitch out. The other thing is, I know that I mentioned there's a glitch here and there's a glitch there. When we first put this together 3-4 years ago, we went through the same type of experience. But with our current app that we're using now, I don't know how many tests we've assigned through it, but a lot of tests have been assigned through it. We haven't had any glitches. Knock on wood, let's hope it stays that way. But for the last couple of years, it's been awesome. It's everything has worked beautifully. So once we get these little crinkles out, I think that you'll have the same experience that we do. And Ryan and Alex, I'd like to ask you very quickly, what do you like about the app and why do you think it is really a good, useful tool?
I'll start. Well, I find it's very convenient because everything's right. It's, once we get the testers trained on it, some take a little bit longer to get used to it. Others take to it right away. I mean, we've had some that, as soon as they did their mock tests, it looks like a veteran tester did it. Other testers take a little bit longer to get used to it. But I mean, you pretty much have everything there. You have, a lot of the questions that you maybe forget to ask the testers. It's right there. So, it's nice. And what I like to do is when I read over the report, I start at the narrative. I take a look. I read through that. I take notes of the key information, and then go back to the other sections and just make sure that matches, so that it can be verified that is in fact the correct information. If not, then I can go back to the tester, ask them about it. So it just makes it easy because everything's right there. It's convenient. You don't have to worry about handwriting, because back in the old days, when some of the testers would write it out, you don't have to worry about that. So it's just a lot easier this way.
I agree with the same points, with standardization being the best the best change. With an old form, there's sometimes open-endedness. As Ryan said, sometimes there were just spaces where a tester could type or handwrite. We had various different ways of approaching, and it was harder to look at two reports side by side. And the objectivity comes out of having reports that you can put side by side, and you can take it really line by line. And when you're trying to determine differences in treatment, having that one-to-one line by line comparison is what makes this reporting system most useful. And we get notifications when reports come in. I just got one on my phone and on the desktop. So it's all more standardized and reliable.
Yeah, and add to that, just having it all in one place, so you don't really have to go and dig for it and find it, if they email it or whatever. This just makes it easier. And for them to be able to upload their documents as well, makes it easier because, like I said, everything's right there, and you don't have to go digging for it. And it's good. I mean, the testers really like it. Like I said, some testers take a little bit longer to kind of adjust. Others take to it right away. Others take to it, and they do the mock test, and it looks like a tester who's been doing it for 3 years did it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's good.
All right. Yeah, I got a copy of it too. So we have it set up now that the primary admin gets it, and then the test coordinators will receive the information through their email that a report comes in. So it's interesting because our current center right now, we're using 3 different apps. We're using our current app that we've been using for the last few years, a demo app, and our new app. And so we get all kinds of things popping in. But we were doing that with the attorneys too, but we took mercy on the attorneys so they wouldn't get an email every time a report came in. So unless you want it back, Stephen, I can always put it back if you'd like that. But I didn't
I'm
think
good.
so. Yeah. Is there any last minute comments or anything else that staff or anyone in the room would like to say or ask before I close the meeting?
Sure. One last thing. I haven't tested this, so I don't know. But what does the attorney see on their end? I know what the admin sees, I know what the tester sees, but what's missing from the sixth grouping that's off to the left here?
Let me see if I can pull one up here real quick.
I'm guessing the test builder is not going to be there for them.
That is correct. That's one thing.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that up here real quick. Hang on. I can show you. Because what we do is we actually just get, well, here, I can share the screen with you, then I'll have to share another one with you. But so when we log on, if there's a report, where's the share? Where's the share? What we get is a screen that looks like this. And then over on the side, you'll see the option for download a report. Or you can also view the history and see this report was created or user used it or whatever. But once the report is ready, so download a report, it'll actually download it as a zip file. And I'll show you what that has in it, maybe.
And that zip file is going to contain the report along with all the uploaded files as well.
I believe it will have the files. Let me stop sharing. I'll show you what actually is what's in that zip file. In the zip file, there's going to be two different files. Come on, share.
But in answer to your question, the answer is correct. If you have uploaded other documents, that will also be in that zip file as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you should be seeing, yeah. So it's going to have two versions of the file in it. Stupid Windows 11. So there's going to be a PDF version and there's going to be a CSV version, which you can just import into like a spreadsheet. The PDF version, this is like this is maybe a bad example because it's only got like 4 questions on it. But let me show you what that one looks like. Where is it? Okay. So this is what it looks like, except it may be a much longer, obviously, because there would be many more questions. This one only has 4 questions. But so this is what it looks like. It's a PDF and it comes down, it has all the questions over here. It has the answers that the tester entered over here. And then it tells you when it was that they entered that answer to the question. And then up at the top, by the way, it will tell you all the information about this is the tester. This is their gender, their age, their race or ethnicity. This is the site that they were testing. That's the test date, and there's the test number right there. So it will pull those up, and then it will give you all these answers. Now, if it's a really long test, this thing may run 10 to 12 pages long. And so what I usually do is I just go to the end where we have the narrative on ours. And that kind of gives me context for the rest of it then as I go through.
Thank you, Stephen. Another question, I guess this would be for Alex and Ryan, but when you have to file, let's say if a complaint is filed and the investigator is asking for the test reports and whatnot. Usually I send that as a redacted file, so I take out and take out the names and everything. Do you guys actually go through the Adobe file, that Adobe download file, and just like redact each one of the names in there, or is there another method that you guys go through?
Well, that's probably actually a question for me as the attorney because I'm the one that actually.
Oh, okay,
runs the
Stephen.
program.
Yeah, sorry.
Um,
Go ahead, Stephen.
And the answer is yes. I go through and I manually redact the names.
Okay. Because I usually do that, so I was like, okay, so so when you print it out, okay, got it.
Yeah. So save it as we save it as a PDF, and then I go through and just redact the names wherever they happen to be located.
Got it.
And by the way, there was a question that was not asked, but it's fairly important, is let's say that Ryan, in debriefing the test, discovers that the tester did not put something in that they indicated that was there. Oh, I spoke with 2 agents, but they didn't put it in there. So Ryan may send it back to the tester, and then they will make the corrections or add what the information they need, and then they'll send it back to Ryan. So when you go into the history, what you'll find in the history is you'll have the footprint of who had the file at which time and which date, but you will also get a download of each one of those reports. So you'll see it with the original report. So if it had to go to court, you'll see the original report, but you'll also see the updated report as well.
Yeah, and when we send back, we just send back that the section or 2 that needs to be corrected. So then, we would type in the reason why we're sending it back. So that would be the footprint would show that as to why we sent it back to them, and then what they did, how they changed it, and so there would be that record there. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, when that zip file, when you open it up, it's actually going to have 2 CSV files and 2 PDF files that
Yes,
are different.
yes, it will. When they
Okay.
actually update the report, it's going to have an updated version of it as well. And any attachments. So when Stephen was downloading that file into the zip file, when you open it up, it will have all the documents pertaining to that particular test, all the uploads
But
and so forth. Go ahead, Stephen.
yeah, just to clarify that though, so if you're doing comparison testers, it's not going to have both of their reports in that zip file. You have to download each of their reports separately.
Thank you.
I don't know if this has happened to you guys before, but let's say the testers upload the files, but forget to upload 1 or 2 afterwards and finalize it. How do you guys handle that generally?
All you have to do is just send it back to the tester. Send the report back to them, and like Ryan was indicating, when you send it back, you'll find the section that you want, and you will click on that section as the test coordinator or whoever's sending it back, and it will have little tiny squares by each one of the questions. You'll put a check mark in the one that says upload files, and then it'll have a little message box saying upload the other documents that you indicated, and they will be able to upload those documents. And then when they get it done, they'll push submit, and it'll come back to Ryan.
So
And we receive a notification.
Go ahead. Okay.
No, I just said once they send it back, then we would get a notification through email that they submitted that.
And the very best. Go ahead, Oakley.
Oh, okay. So earlier you said you can upload up to 10 files. Was that right?
Yeah, the hard limit is 10 files. And each one
And would that limit change if let's say there is more than 10 files and you're like, okay, go ahead and upload your 10 files, and then, I send it and they have more. So can we go back and go, here, make this change, and you can upload the other 5 files and make it 15 files? Does that make sense?
No, what you would no, that's hard. That's a hard limit that's built in. What you
Uh-huh.
and honestly, that's never come up for us because I don't think we've ever had more than 3 or 4 files uploaded at a time.
Okay.
If that is something that happens frequently, a workaround would be you could make it a repeating question that says, how many sets of 10 files do you have to upload? And then if they hit one, it will have them go, it'll put one of the upload dialogues on. And then if they hit two, it'll repeat that question again, and then it'll repeat that question again. So you could have up to, theoretically at least, you could have up to 50 files if you wanted to make your test go that way, if that's something that frequently happens. Um, it'd be a really awkward way to phrase it. I'm not sure how you would do it in terms of, how you would make it clear to the tester, how many they have, or you could have it, do you have more than 10 files as a question? And then if yes, then it adds a second, file upload dialog. And then, do you have more than 20? If so, then it adds, so you can just do it that way, make them just nested questions. But as a practical matter, it has never come up on our end.
Okay, thank you.
And the other thing is too, by the way, I think it will allow you to upload a zip file. So if they, if they've got multiple files and they're fairly small files, they can just throw them into a zip file and upload a bunch of them, as long as it doesn't exceed 25 megabytes. Or if they're, PDFs, they can combine them into a single PDF or something. So there are workarounds, but it's never come up for us. But there are ways to do it if it really becomes something that you need to do.
Thank you. I'm just thinking ahead because I'm like, okay, if they took a bunch of photos of places that exceeded 10, let's say.
Well,
Yeah, that's
depending
all.
on how you'd like to have things submitted, if it was, let's say there's a bunch of photos and they could copy those photos into a Word document, and then just make that Word document several pages, maybe one photo per page and labeled. That single Word document could be added as as one upload. Testers likely wouldn't have Adobe Acrobat or uniformly something like that, or just Adobe. But instead of uploading one file or one photo at a time, it may be easier anyway for them to upload it as a document, kind of copy and pasting or adding in a different way.
That's great. And then how do you guys handle, like, how we usually handle it was any documents, we usually have them initial and date every document. And since this is now just being uploaded and it's tagged with some metadata, does it even make sense? Do you guys even bother with, signing and dating every material and then uploading the file?
We have a signature at the end, and it's a checkbox actually that serves as the signature. So on the final section following the narrative, I suppose it wouldn't have to be that way. You could have testers sign every page if you wanted. You could have testers sign wherever, but for our purpose, testers complete the test with the narrative section being the final section, and at the end, there's a box that says this checkbox serves as your signature, or it's typed in. Okay, it's been updated, so now it is typed in.
Yeah. So you just write your narrative here. This is what happened. And then you just sign it, one of my old radio air names, Bob the janitor. And then you date it using that handy little drop down that I told you about. And then you complete the section.
Uploads, yes or no? There you go.
Yeah. And the other thing that you could do, by the way, if you know that you routinely have photographs, Like there may be photographs, there's different categories of files. You could actually have a question that says, do you have photos to upload? And if they say yes, then you can make all of these just photos. And then you could add another question, do you have emails to upload? And if yes, then it's another repeating set of questions for those. So there's a couple of ways to work around the issue of if you have more than 10. But yeah, the way we do our signatures is they just type it in and they date it. And then and I don't know how your state does it, but in Michigan, our Department of Civil Rights people will always do interviews as part of their investigation. And so they're going to be speaking with our testers. If we need to, we can, have affidavits signed by testers or whatever. But this is always, nobody's ever questioned it. We'll put it that way. Nobody's ever, to the best of my knowledge, questioned anything that any of our testers, put, once they got past the, initial, they get sent, well, your testers are lying. We've got one defendant, one respondent who, even though we had 3 different testers on 4 different properties, all say we were told the same thing but they're lying. None of our people would ever say that. Okay. But yeah, nobody's, as far as I know, ever, questioned the validity of this is the report that was entered at that time.
Okay, thank you so much.
We also have the ability to track the history of a site or a report. So we have the options to download the report, download the .csv report, to view the history, which we need that when as test coordinators and with Trish, we make our pay sheets. We need to know, okay, when was this report created? Because we know when it was opened, and when was it submitted, then when was it reopened, and when was it resubmitted, if possible. Then also we have the date that the outcome was uploaded to. So that's all here for the fictitious brownstone apartments that Stephen has pulled up on his screen.
I'm trying to see if there's any, like here's one that's reopened, and it'll tell you right here, it was reopened. So you can look at the history and see that it was submitted and then it was reopened. So presumably something was sent back to that tester that said, we need you to fix this. There's an ambiguity in what you said, or you said there was an email that was sent. Can you upload that to us? That sort of a thing. Let's see, here's another one that was reopened. Let's see if it has. Yeah, so none of them have gone that far. And this is, again, the demo, the demo app. So the sandbox. So it probably doesn't have that extensive of a history on any of them.
Stephen, look at all testers and go to Annie Baird.
Do what now?
No, in the reports on your ability to sort, go to all testers.
Oh, here.
Yeah. And then click in the gray area.
It's not taking it. There it
There
goes.
you go. Okay, and then go to all sites. Well, no, I don't need that. All right, go to all status and go to submitted. And then click in the gray area. Okay, go to Apple Creek Station and look at the history on that one on the very bottom.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So it was reopened, it was submitted, then there's another question that was asked.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the little breadcrumb trail you get as to here's what happened with this report. And when you actually look at the report, it will have on there, here's the message that was sent to the tester and here's what they amended.
Yep. And so I'm Annie Baird too. That's my ghost name, I guess you could say. So that's why I wanted you to go ahead and pick that one. One thing that I do want to say though is and I've mentioned this before, so you're probably going to get tired of hearing me say it, but one of the most important things you can do before you give this to your testers is go in there, do the test yourself, as a tester, do a phone test, do an on-site test. After you get it back, go in as that admin, look it over, send it back to your tester, yourself, your fictitious self, and do the update on it. So you're going to know this, how to send it back, what the little boxes like Brian and I was telling you about. You'll know every single step over and over because you've actually did it yourself. And so the best way to teach someone is doing it yourself. So that's what I would highly recommend. Go in there and play with it. That's what the demo's for. Have fun with it. Go in there, and that's why I'm Annie Beard, and I think I have another fictitious name, and I've sent things back and forth constantly to myself, and so just a suggestion, just to play around with it. All right, any last minute questions or anything else? Let's see. Anything else? If not, again, I would like to thank Stephen for being part of this, a huge part of this. And yeah, if I was to teach this to you guys, you would be so confused right now because I would be confused when I started it.